Good morning, my friends. It's always the way, isn't it? I'm trying to do back-to-back recordings today so that I can actually get some content out this week. And the moment I decide on a Sunday to get some information down on video to help my lovely friends, my neighbour decides to mow the lawn. So if it's there and you can hear it, I'm apologising in advance, but it is what it is. And funnily enough, it's quite apt that I mention that today, because today we're just discussing briefly the idea about where you write and how it impacts how and what you write. You know, writing, it can be, well, if you're an author and you're watching this channel, then writing is going to be a huge part of your life. And so where you do it and how you do it, even the type of writing instruments you use between a pen and paper or dictation or actually physically typing on your keyboard, all of those impact the types of things you put, the types of words you put on your page. Now, as you can plainly see from this video, my main office desk, this here, it sits right next to the kitchen. Really handy for me because my kettle is just out of sight on the other side of my stove. Obviously the space in my house wasn't designed as an office. It was likely supposed to have to be the dining area. But as I live on my own and I don't even own a dining room table, so it's not like I need to have it here. This is a perfect space for me to put my desk. I can see out. I've moved my desk recently, as you've probably noticed if you've watched some of my older videos and then you're watching these now. Or my desk used to face the other way, but now I prefer to have the backdrop of my outside view. And I also like the fact that I can look across my living area and see my front door, which is, it's a safety thing. I can see out the window here, I can see out the window out the back, and I can see out my door there. And I have an L-shaped desk so that my computer, which is what I'm recording on now, sits in the corner of that L shape. And it's the perfect distance for my really bad eyesight. So if I have my font large enough on my screen that I can see it without it being blurry. And so when I say I'm in my office, what I mean is this space here. Now, I type all of my fiction books here in a Word program, and I type them. I have also dabbled with transcription, and I'm still doing that. But predominantly, my books are created here on my computer. Now, I have been reading this book here, Writing Down the Bones, by Natalie Goldberg, and she is fascinating. Like, there's lots of different snippets about her writing life in there, which really makes you look at writing in a totally different way. So I'll drop a link to that in the description below. But she said that she always thought that typing was good for stories. So if you're telling stories, she felt typing was the way to go. But if she was writing personal thoughts or jotting down her life experiences, and a lot of the information that she puts in her writing courses, which is what she's famous for, she does all that on pen and paper because she feels that that's a different connection from brain to putting the words on the page, writing it by hand as opposed to typing it. So that's an interesting thing to think about. Now, you may be totally different. You may prefer to handwrite your stories. They might flow better if you do that first, and then maybe you get them typed up or you type them up yourselves later. But it's quite interesting in how we do it, that it's just the easiest way our brain has for channeling our thoughts and our imaginations, our stories from our head to the page. So I'd be really keen in the comments below if you let me know what type of writer you are. For me, my flow of consciousness works better when I type. I am still persisting with the transcription and voice recording, but it's still so stilted. Even though I've been doing it now for a couple of months, it's still stilted in relation to how fast I can type if I'm just typing my story. So I'd be interested to hear what your situation is. But anyway, back to where you write, because that, of course, is another thing that has actually a major impact on your mood, the level of peace and quiet and the privacy around you. And it's also, your space also reflects the commitment to what you're doing. Now, when we talk about peace and quiet, we obviously don't expect our neighbor to be mowing our lawns. However, having a dedicated writing space is vitally important when it comes to the commitment you have to your writing career, especially for new authors. By carving out a space, it's like you're telling your inner self and the world around you, your family, the people you share your house with, you're telling them you're serious about your writing career. Now, admittedly, it's not possible. Look, I know I'm an anomaly, okay? I got that word out without fumbling. That's pretty cool. But I live in a house by myself. If I want to set up this whole room, my whole living area into an office, I can. And in fact, by the time you take into account the printers I have down that wall, another printer I've got there, and the books I've got everywhere, most people would probably think this was an extension, that my whole living room was basically an extension of my office. But I know that for most people, having this sort of thing is a luxury. It's not something most people can do. The funny thing is when I first started writing and I was married, and I had children, back when I was writing nonfiction to pay the bills, I commandeered the dining room then too. I had my desk space in the dining room. My kids used to eat in the living room with plates on their knees. I know I'm one of those terrible mothers, but that's what we used to do. The thing is you need to carve out that space. It doesn't matter how big or small, you need to carve out a space that works for you. Now, my daughter, for example, who is also an author, she has a little desk tucked into the corner of their living room. Now, as she said, it's not ideal. She's got 4 kids and a dog running rampant in and out of her house all the time. But she made that space work because she was fossicking through my stash of gear that I never use, and she found noise cancelling headphones that I hadn't even taken out of the packet. So she just whipped them away and she declared herself set. She now has them on and her kids know she's got her headphones on. She's busy, don't disturb her asking her for snacks. Another young writer that I know of, and this is a true story, I said, how do you write? Because he was in this tiny little apartment thing. And he says, it's in here. And he opened up his closet door in his bedroom, and it was just big enough to fit one of those student desks. And he had a chair in his room anyway that he used to put clothes on and things like that. And when he wanted to write, he'd just take the clothes off that chair, open his closet door, his chair would fit under the desk, and he'd sit there and type. He'd even rigged up a little light and what have you, like his electronics and everything was all there in his closet. But that's how important it was for him to have that space to write in. Somebody else I've spoken to, all she has is one of those, I've got one here, but you can't see it. It's one of those dinner trolley things, that's sort of like shaped like that. It goes round and then it goes down and then it's got like runs on little wheels. They're used for people, who want to eat in bed, or, like a dinner thing, like when you're sitting in your easy chair in the living room and it's sort of so it swings over and you've got a table space. Well, another young writer I know, she was telling me she's got one of those set up, and that it's just big enough for her laptop and her notebooks. And then she can use that either while she's sitting on her bed or when she's sitting in her chair in her room. But either way, that's her space. That's her writing area. And and it works for her. The key point to all of this is that each of these writers was committed enough to their writing that they carved out this space. And again, as I say, it is really, really difficult to do if you have a very cramped household. But hopefully you've also living with a family who is supportive. So maybe talk to your partner or talk to your kids, or clear out a spot in the corner of your bedroom, wherever you can. Carve out that little spot big enough for your writing instrument, big enough for you to be able to say, when I'm sitting here, I'm writing, I'm working on my story. And I think that's really important. The other thing that kind of makes it fun, having a dedicated space for your writing, is that sometimes you can go on a writing holiday. You know, some days, I mean, I sit here most days. I get up, I put the jug on in the morning, I'll make a cuppa, and if it's a nice day, I'll go and sit outside and I'll have my cup of tea. It's about the only time this neighborhood is quiet, especially when my neighbors are mowing the lawn. He's usually asleep when I'm doing this, sitting outside enjoying the peace and quiet. But anyway, I shouldn't complain because he is a really amazing neighbor. But anyway, I will do that. And then I come in here and I sit down, and I'm here between here and my garage every day, because usually I've got like art things going on and craft things going on as well. So that's how I get my daily exercises, walking between here and my garage to do my art and do my writing. And that's pretty much how I spend all day. And then every now and again, if I get a phone call from a friend, then I'll go and sit on my easy chair over there, because then I can put my feet up for 5 minutes. But anyway, there are some days when I sort of think, oh, I don't feel like it today. And that's when I take a writing holiday. And to do that, I grab my iPad, which, you know, connects with my Dropbox that's got my story on it. And I go and sit outside on my porch and I write there. And apparently that's a common theme in writers. Natalie Goldberg, who I mentioned with this book, she talked about a time in her life where her and a friend had a standing writing date every Monday, where her and her friend would go to different coffee shops or other interesting places, and they would write and they would chat. And that was their whole day that they planned out, that revolved around their writing. So they'd have these writing holidays, which I thought was a really cool idea. So if you're tired of being in your house, grab your laptop or your notepad or whatever it is you write on, and go and sit in a coffee shop, go and sit in a park, go and sit somewhere else and have a writing holiday, knowing that your space is still waiting for you when you get back. The thing is the strongest point for this is to do with that commitment to writing. Having your space shows yourself, your creative muse, and the people around you that you are serious about your writing and what you're doing. By carving out that space, you're claiming this is important, and that impacts both what you write and how you write, and how often even, because you get a lot more done if you don't have to go clearing off the kitchen table every time you want to write your book. So get your own space organized, my friends. Make that commitment to your writing. And okay, maybe you don't want a desk that's as cluttered as mine, but it works for me. And that's what I'm suggesting to you, my friends, that you do something that works for you. I'm trying to find my thingy button and not having a lot of success. But let's all say hi. And thank you so much to my lovely neighbour for deciding to mow their lawns while I was doing this video. Hopefully you could still hear me and that wasn't too annoying. I truly appreciate you. If you got any help out of this, or if anything I said was useful at all, please hit the like button. If you are interested in information to do with writing, self-publishing, and then marketing your work, then please, consider hitting the subscribe button. I kind of do have the experience. I'm celebrating my 10-year publiversary on the 24th and 25th of February this year. That I actually published my first ever book. Self-published my first ever book on February the 26th, 2014. So I've been doing this a while, my friends, and I'd love to be able to help you to do the same thing. So please hit like, please hit subscribe. And until next time, my friends, drop any comments, questions, whatever, drop them in the comments below. And until next time, please hug the ones you love, and we'll see you next time. Bye. I always get this bit wrong. Click, click.